Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. When I was doing all of the dev server footage, one of the things that kept getting brought up over and over and over again in my DMs and also in conversations was one of the key changes that was coming to economy and research when it came to update groundbreaking. Now I know I haven't done the video yet looking over the actual changelogs because I'm basically waiting to see if there is going to be a second dev server and then we can go through it then, but I think it is correct to go over this change because I'm glad that they've updated it as of today, and it doesn't set a dangerous precedent, which would have been one which I feel would have been abused going into the future. One of the things that has been standard in War Thunder for the longest time is the fact that if you research something or if you get something, it normally doesn't change in the fact that it doesn't get taken away from you. There are things that have changed over time. The Italian M60, for example, lost its stabilizer. It also got a change in BR. Stuff such as the Panther II and the Tiger II 105 and even the mouse were removed from the game, but the people who had even a little bit of research into them were able to keep them in their hangars and also use them in battles. This is obviously a very key thing. It shows a precedent of if you put the effort in, you get to keep whatever it is, even if it is removed for new players. And what we found over the last, well, I suppose weekend, when they rolled out the changelog for the new update, is they were trying to sneak something in, which would have meant that many players lost stuff that maybe even they've been spending years on accruing when it comes to general points. So, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I will just read it verbatim for you. It's in the Economy and Research section of the Update Groundbreaking changelog, and it says, all newly obtained Universal Backup Vehicles, orders, and wages will now have validation time to be activated and expiration time for orders, or relevant data added to their description. Now, this isn't that bad because it basically means, okay, any new ones which are added, fair enough, will lose the ability to be able to keep them for a long period of time. Instead, they're going to have timed points on them, so you're going to have to use them and not just sit in your, inventory. But then the next line was the problem. Attention. All previously obtained Universal Backup Vehicles, orders, and wages to be used within a lengthy period of time as now stated in their description. And obviously they don't put what that lengthy period of time is, since it's quite subjective. Now, this is the problem line when it comes to these things. It has been well established when it comes to War Thunder that whatever you have ground out, you get to keep, and normally by the rules that are put forth in the game itself. And with a bunch of other economy changes which are happening, and also game mechanic changes which are happening in this update too, the research system in general is going to change significantly, even if, it might not look like it. They're changing a ton of different stuff when it comes to the research and the SL gain in the game. It's going to be completely different than it was before, and I'm still basically working out how this is going to affect the game, which is why, I haven't really talked about it yet. But one of the things that has to stay fundamental to War Thunder is the idea that if you have put the time and effort in to get something, it has to stay there, because otherwise you lose faith in the whole system. There is a lot of games out there which put me off because of their, let's call them, research systems. Escape from Tarkov is one of them. I don't like the idea that I put in a ton of effort into a game, and then after a certain period of time, e.g. maybe 6 to 8 or 12 months, a lot of the stuff that I ground out is taken away from me. I know a lot of people who like that system, but for me, if I've put in the time to do something, it should be kept there. It shouldn't be taken away from me. If they decided to do tech tree changes, just like they did in Naval, for example, imagine if either in Naval or imagine in Ground, if they decided to split the tech trees like they did in Naval, and they said, okay, you all get to start from scratch now. Imagine if that would happen and the outcry that would be there. That was basically the outcry that you saw when it came to this, and I completely agree with it. This change is only negative to the general player, right? It is only negative. There is no positive that can be brought out of this. The only positive that could be there, but isn't explained at all, is if they increased the boosters themselves and also made backups more attainable and also more useful. But none of that is written anywhere in this, so that's just obviously not going to happen. So you were basically taking away things from people or putting stuff on artificial timers, which weren't, described efficiently or properly, and you wonder why people get annoyed. And as I've said many times, you can't just take stuff away from people without them noticing. They're going to notice very, very quickly. Now, what I would like to do, because I see this happening here, and it also happened before when it came to the BR changes a little bit back, and then the previous BR changes too, I would urge everybody to look at all of the other parts of the economy and research and game mechanics of the changelog itself, because they are very much game-changing as well. They're not as I suppose flowery as showing how they're taking away something that I've earned, but they are going to fundamentally change the game. So I would like to use this opportunity for people to have a look at it. Now, on Monday today, obviously all this stuff was released on Friday, so they had a weekend to basically go over everything. On Monday, Stoner put a post on the War Thunder forums, and it says, "Recently, we shared our plans about changing the rules of storing certain items in the inventory with you, where all newly received universal backups, orders, and wages would have activation deadlines, as well as for wages, a limited validity period after activation. This includes the intention of limiting the period during which early received items might be used. In announcing these changes, we didn't want to deprive you of the accumulated items and thus ruin your experience in the game. On the contrary, we wanted such items to be used often in battles and bring you more benefits. However, we took your feedback and suggestions into account and will not apply the new mechanics to items where applicable that you already have in your inventory. You will be able to use them wherever you want to. The limitation of the activation time for newly obtained items will be implemented with the first Battle Pass season in 2022. This information will be listed in the item description similar to boosters. We thank you for the constructive feedback on the official forum and also social media." So pretty much because of community outcry, stuff has changed. Basically all of the legacy stuff that you're going to have before the Battle Pass season in 2022, which should be so this one's going to be the end of October. It should be at the end of January or start of February. Then a idea will come in where all of the newly owned like boosters and backups and everything like that will have a timer on it, but all the legacy stuff you have on your account will not have a timer on it. That's basically how it wants, or how it's going to go. I don't like the fact that they completely missed why people were annoyed when it comes to explaining their plans, because it's very obvious why, they're doing these types of plans. A lot of people are sat on a ton of boosters and a ton of backups. I am actually one of them. I have a ridiculous amount of universal backups. I have an insane amount of boosters. And you know why I've been hoarding them? Because I'm waiting for a new tech tree to be released so I can see how fast I can blitz through it. That's basically why. But we haven't had a new tech tree release in a long time, apart from helicopters, and I'm not wasting my boosters on helicopters. So I'm guessing a bunch of people are in that place as well. It also is kind of a way of just kind of remembering history. I have a bunch of boosters which are 7 battles for 77%, or 113%, or ones which I've got from stuff like quizzes that they've done from things like Gamescom back in the day. And I remember all of the history of those weird and wonky boosters. And it's a really nice story to be able to tell whenever somebody brings them up. You know, when it comes to backups and stuff, you know, it's not that important. But with boosters, the fact that you can, you know, have stories behind them is really interesting. And at the same time, one of the great things about the Warbond shop was if you got the boosters from the Warbond shop, they didn't have a timer on them. So you weren't actually in a position where you had to use them. Instead, you could hold on to them and kind of just wait for the opportune time to use them. By giving everything a timer, you are enforcing people to use them. And obviously through the Battle Pass, this is what pretty much everything has, when it comes to boosters at least, where they've made everything have timers on them. And the problem with this is that it just means that all the time you are pressurized to play the game because you have to use your boosters. And this is going to happen over and over and over and over again, and it's never going to stop. They're going to keep pushing this idea where you have to play consistently in order to keep getting everything. We're already seeing it with a Battle Pass, we're already seeing it with events, we're already seeing it with updates. Everything is piling on top of each other over and over and over again, and this would have been another change to push those ideas. I've said many times when it comes to War Thunder, at this moment in time, we've been going at about 110% for about 2 years now, nearly 2.5 years. There has been no brakes on this train, and it's going to keep going, and it's going to keep getting faster and keep getting faster. And the problem with doing that is even people who've been around for a long time and are okay with the status quo, they're going to get burnt out. And it's happening, and I'm seeing it when it comes to a lot of veteran players. And this would have been another change which would have negatively affected that. So I'm glad they didn't go through with it. And I'm glad that it's only going to affect new stuff, which is, you know, coming in. But at the same time, it is still sad to see those older systems be taken out of the game, because I always thought they were super, you know, valuable to players, and now they're going to be less valuable. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Professor X 1718, Orange Tail, Sakoshi Tiger, BRFC 15, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe A, Eugens Terry, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, and then Kyle Kin, Bareen, Lafouche, and also Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.